For those of you who don't know where the conference center is at GBMC, you take a left at Einstein's Bagels. And
if you go on
go halfway down the hall.
Don can direct you there. He'll maybe even give you a ride.
Oh, yeah. I'm good with wheelchairs. Just don't talk to the guy who, with the big bandaged foot, found the elevator wall when I was pushing him. But
So when we're talking about cancer, there's really nothing like talking with a survivor.
Yes.
And someone who's been on her own journey. And so Beth Nardone, Nardone, right. Thank you so much for being with us and sharing a very personal time in your life, and I'm sure what was life-changing for you, and talking about it. Because when you share, there's so many other people who will hear your story and it will help them. I'm sure you already know that, right?
Absolutely, absolutely.
I don't think your mic is on.
Oh, yeah, true.
There you go.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. It's my pleasure. Yes, I was diagnosed 6 years ago. I'm a little bit more than 4 years out of treatment. I had HER2 positive, estrogen negative, stage 2B breast cancer. I had it in 2 places and my lymph nodes, and I had no symptoms. I felt nothing.
Wow.
So the mammogram basically saved my life. My mother was a 2-time cancer survivor, breast cancer and colon cancer, and but she was 17 years older when she was diagnosed. So I am a very strong advocate for women to get their mammograms. I think we as women tend to put ourselves 5th on the list.
I'm late for mine. I gotta admit.
Get that mammogram.
I know.
Because it does make a difference. And so I was at GBMC. I had 3 surgeries. I had chemo, and I had radiation at Baltimore, Washington Medical Center because I lived down there. But I had a lot of weird symptoms and side effects from my treatment. I was in the 1.9% category with the Herceptin that put me into heart failure twice.
Wow.
And we were at a point where my doctor, Dr. Solano, was considering stopping treatment. And I knew what would happen if we did. And I said, we have to keep going. So we got a cardiologist involved. And every other treatment, I had either a MUGA scan or an echo to get me through the 18 treatments that I needed. And it took 1.5 years, but I got them all in. And I'm blessed to be here talking to you today.
Wow.
So,
we so often forget, I think, people have cancer, but then it's what comes with that, comes with that treatment. And I know people who years later are dealing with everything from dry eyes to, some other issue with their skin or something, and they're always it's always there, kind of what with the residual effect. But of course, the main thing is to get rid of the cancer. That was quite a journey.
It was. I'm so lucky that I had such great treatment, and these people have such heart, and they care so much about you. And so for me, it was really important when I was finally cleared. And I know we were talking about earlier whether you think that you're cured, and I always, when people ask me that, I always say we never say that word because we just don't know. I think as a survivor, we all feel, is it going to come back? Am I going to get another cancer? Not that you dwell on it because you can't live there, but you don't ever escape that. I mean, we're part of this club that nobody wants to join, but we're here. But you have to go on, and so I feel very lucky.
Do you remember your initial reaction when the mammogram showed up? Cancer?
Yes. I tend to have this weird intuition. It kind of followed in my family. And I actually had to start getting mammograms at 30, not 40, because of my mom. And after I had this one, I just had this very odd feeling. And then I would normally get a letter in the mail, and they would tell you, oh, come back in a year. And I just had this feeling. And then I didn't get the letter, and then I got a letter that said, you need to come back. And
so many of us have gotten that letter too,
which is very scary.
Yeah.
And you try to keep it into perspective. And so I remember driving there that day, I remember the doctor telling me that I needed to have 2 biopsies because the overachiever that I am, I had it in 2 places. Once was not enough.
Same breast?
Yes. And turned out that it was also in the lymph nodes too. So I had a tumor, and I had it in the soft tissue. But the tumor was so deep that that's why I never felt, so breast self-exams wouldn't have helped me. Not that I'm saying don't do them. You need to do them. You need to know your own body, and you have to have awareness. So that was quite a shock. I mean, I don't remember driving home that day.
Okay.
And the next day, I called and I had the biopsies, and within 2 days it came back that I had cancer. I had a call from the the oncologist to tell me that.
Were you gung-ho on treatment from the beginning?
I was like, yeah, let's go. And they told me not to wait because I had a very invasive, aggressive cancer. So I went to the breast center and I met with a surgeon and we talked about options, which is hard to make that decision, decide what to do. Although
Were you
we've
by
come
yourself?
so far.
I'm just curious because that is a really hard thing to
I
make
was.
decisions about, and even to remember. Obviously, you know the type of cancer you had.
Yes.
But in the moment, could you even remember what it was, or?
I did because I knew I had a plan. I had something I had to do, and this was important
Okay.
to get on it. But yes, unfortunately, I was by myself. I did have great friends, and I had people with me, and they were taking notes. They had laptops in there on the side, and everybody's, telling me all that's going on because you do tend to zone out. So I'm very blessed to have had that. And I think that's why it's so important for me, what I do now being co-chair of the Patient Family Advisory Council, is to give back and to help others that may be in my same situation. Because not only have I been a patient, and I had that with my mother, I was caregiver for both my parents. And so I know what it's like to be on both sides of it. So I think that's a gift that I can give because I've lived both of them.
So that's one way that your life has changed since the cancer. Are there others?
Yes, actually, after cancer, your body has changed, and my body changed from surgeries. I had the 3 surgeries and all that, and you adjust to that. It's your new normal. But my one thing that I could do, because I was overweight, so we were talking about this earlier, I lost 40 pounds before I was diagnosed. As soon as I was cleared, I lost 80 pounds. So, because I was working out, even though I was heavy, I was working out 5 days a week. But it's that weight makes such a difference. So I work out 6 days a week. I have kept my weight off now 4 years. And I even became a health coach with the medically based plan that I used, which was formerly Medifast, it's now Optavia, to try to help others do this too, because it's something I believed in, and it's helped me, and it's a whole lifestyle change, not just the weight loss. So that is critical. That is one of the things that I deal with every day with folks.
Just curious, what kind of exercise do you do? Workout?
I spin, I do yoga, I do Zumba, I do the elliptical, I walk.
You got it going on.
And I am in classes with a lot of younger people, so they're always like, well, if Beth can do it, I'm like, yes. Yeah. If Beth can do it, you can do it.
You're probably healthier today than you've ever been.
I probably am. And so I think the greatest compliment I ever got was, I would never have known all that you've gone through. I would never know that you were a cancer patient.
When
survivor.
you were a cancer patient, I assume you were working, is that correct? Were you working at the time?
I was actually taking care of my parents. No,
I'm just wondering how you navigated your life. I mean, what was the hardest part about it, if there is one thing you could point to? You had to get up in the morning, you had to manage it. Maybe you were caring for your parent and yourself. I mean, and facing a world now as a changed person, and
right.
going through something that maybe a lot of people weren't aware of. But what was hard?
I think because that has to become your priority. I mean, your treatment, and you don't feel well. It was like I could clock. I knew exactly when my steroids were going to wear off and when I would start to feel lousy, and there'd be a period of 9 days, and it would just be time to come back to do the chemo again. But you still have to live your life. I mean, life still goes on. You still have responsibilities. So you do the best you can, and actually sometimes it's a welcome relief.
Some
you're
normalcy.
Like, right, for a change, it's like, okay, for 2 hours while I'm doing this, I'm not a cancer patient, and you have a little bit of a distraction. But that has to be your focus, because if you don't do what you need to do, you're not going to survive. And so that has to be your priority.
Can you give us an example of how you worked with others or changed lives as part of this Patient and Family Advisory Council?
Oh, absolutely. This council, first of all, it is such a gift that GBMC does this, and that actually wants to hear the bad as well as the good, and there is a lot of good. But there are issues, like with any place, anywhere, that we can do better. So I work with amazing survivors on this council. Some are still patients. Some will be patients for life, I think. Maybe they're on their fourth cancer, their third cancer. They're amazing. So we help each other first because we've shared our stories. And then we have changed things from signage in the hospital, because when you come in and you're dazed and you're feeling lousy and you're walking around, you don't want to have to think about where you have to go. So we changed things from signage. We did field trips to all of the related areas for cancer and tried to make those places better and easier, trying to make the experience for the cancer patients that come behind us an easier and better time for them at a time when it's probably one of the lowest in your lives.
How did you change the signage?
Well, if it wasn't clear enough, or they couldn't find where they needed to
Right.
go, or they didn't know what
It's
room.
the little
Oh, no, we didn't
things.
physically go and
Right.
change it.
Oh, you didn't
but-
take the word cancer out? Or,
No, we would give suggestions as to what
Yeah.
would be,
Okay, I'm
and
just-
then,
That only
I'm just
you would
curious,
realize.
yeah.
Right.
That only you would realize.
Right.
So that's a wonderful
Yeah,
give
it's-
back.
and even from the caregiver events and from all of these events that are done, from Legacy Chase to the Survivor Celebration, and it is wonderful to celebrate that, and the fact that we have so many survivors, that's growing each year. I mean, how can you not celebrate that?
Do you go to the celebration each year?
I absolutely do.
And what do you take away from it?
Just the fact that I've been given another year personally, and that there are people that have been there for 20, 22 years, that I hope that I get to do that. There are people that are newly diagnosed that I can go and maybe talk to, and maybe I can help them. It's an amazing energy in that room.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, obviously it is a club that nobody wants to join.
Right.
And you didn't ask to be a member. But once you are, I would imagine that there's a group of people who you become incredibly close with, and they may be your best friends in the world now, some of them.
Yes.
And that it's just a sense of love and acceptance, no matter where someone is on their journey. That only
Absolutely.
you can provide each other.
And that is the plus side to being in this club, because we can, and as much as people that love you, and you do take everybody with you in this. Anybody who is connected with you in your life has been affected. And from the day you tell them to the day maybe you don't have the greatest news, or you're having some rough times, they go along this journey with you. And so to be able to help those people that may be alone, like I was, or people that just aren't sure what their outcome is, or whether they should continue treatment. I mean, all of these things, I think I understand now why people make the choices that they do.
So a little role playing, if we would. If I was a new patient at the celebration and you were going to come up to me, what's the first thing you always say?
Basically, I say, I'm so glad you're here. And so tell me about your story. And they do. And I mean, I've helped complete strangers, on the street. People say, oh, my so-and-so was diagnosed. And I said, hey, you know what? Here's my phone number. If they need somebody to talk to,
It's wonderful.
I would, and they call. And so for me, it's so rewarding to be able to do that. You take something so difficult and negative, and you turn a positive out of it. And that's my blessing.
Is that what was done for you when you 6 years ago?
Not necessarily, no, but that's okay. I mean, because look where I am now.
Sure.
And so somehow you find your way and you find your place. And so much has come out of me being a cancer patient and survivor that I've been able to help. And it's amazing to me.
And you know what you wish someone had said to you.
Well, and that was my
did.
next question. So you must say from time to time, I wish people knew this. I wish people who aren't affected would say this or not say this. Or I wish the world would change in this way to make it easier on all of us. What
is
would
that?
be some of those wishes?
Well, I think part of this comes down to communication and not walking on eggshells. I actually have 2 friends right now who are battling cancer. One is in a clinical trial, and one is on her 3rd recurrence. And the one thing that they have felt free to talk to me about is their own mortality, which is a very difficult thing to discuss. But it's necessary at times. Our fears, to be able to say to your loved ones, because I think we try to shield each other when we're going through this, and nobody really wants to talk about the difficult topics. But that's what this disease brings, unfortunately. And so it is a gift to be able to do that.
And not that it brings that necessarily, but it brings up the question, I think.
Right.
More of us are surviving cancer than ever before, right?
Absolutely, right.
It's not a death sentence the way we maybe envisioned it to be years ago, or so it's living with it. It's living, right? It's living with it. But it also is healthy to talk about. It does make you think about your life and its trajectory.
I think that you make other choices in your life, that you don't sweat the small stuff, that you know what's important, and you do focus on the positive.
Some of us are afraid we're going to say the wrong thing when someone tells us they have a cancer. Is there something we should not say or ask?
I think that most people, their questions and their concerns come from their heart. I don't think anybody ever wants to upset someone going through this. I had it personally. I had people talk about all sorts of things that you're just like, wow, okay. Not what I wanted to hear, but okay. But, you take it in the vein in which it was said and who said it, and you know that no one would want to hurt you. But I would rather someone be honest. I think being honest, because the bottom line is if something happens, you want to have said, I love you. You matter to me. I'm here to help you in any way that I can. Could you tell me what is it like? Maybe they want to know.
Sure.
And there's nothing wrong with that. I think you need to be honest and open for your sake as well as those that are around you and love you.
I think, Mindy, we have some comments. Is that right?
It's actually from me.
Okay.
I just wanted to thank Beth for being here and sharing her story with all of us,
Oh my gosh.
and
Hear, hear.
with all of the survivors and the cancer warriors that are going through treatment. So thank you. I mean, we've worked together for a lot of years, and I just want to share our appreciation for you sharing.
You're more than
your story.
welcome. She's a gem. I started with Mindy on the council, and then Brandon came. So we're tag teaming it. But these people are amazing, and it was a blessing to have them as part of my team to help me get where I am today. And now for it to be able to give back with
Everybody
them.
needs a good village.
You better believe it.
Yeah, we are not in this alone.
Right.
No matter who we are.
Exactly.
And thank you for taking something that happened to you and turn it around so you could help others. Not everybody does that.
I know, and whatever anybody's choice is okay, and that's perfectly fine. I know people that once they leave the center, they don't want to come back. They don't want to think about it again, and you don't take that personally. But that's why I'm grateful that I am well enough to do this, and I do whatever I can when it's cancer related. I just danced in a 2-hour Zumba-thon for St. Jude's, so I will do whatever I can, and I'm grateful to be well enough to do it.
Yeah, life is beautiful.
Yeah. Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good luck.
And we should tell our audience that we will not be on Facebook Live in the month of June.
And we'll be so sad about it.
Yes. We'll be coming back in July, though, the second Wednesday, unless we third Wednesday. That's right. I forgot. I got my email that we switched it. July 18th? All right.
But all these videos live on. I mean, you can always find out more information. You can always ask more questions. There's always help. There's always information. And so we're just putting more out there, and that's the beauty of it.
But again,
So.
thank you for sharing.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for
And thank
watching.
you.
Yes.